Speak Mandarin? Working on your American English accent? Here are 5 tips for you when speaking in American English. Oh, and if you don't speak Chinese, you can still use a lot of these tips. Compound nouns. Compound nouns function in some ways kind of like in Mandarin, where you have 2 words that join together to make one word. For instance, the word high school. A high school is a specific type of school, 9th grade to 12th grade. So in this type of situation where you have a compound noun, you want to stress the first word. So it's not going to be pronounced as high school, it's going to be pronounced high school. High school. There are lots of similar types of words like this. For instance, swimming pool, cell phone, or even math class. So definitely pay attention to compound words to make sure you're stressing the right part. Final N sounds. So in English and in Mandarin, when words start with the letter N, they pretty much are going to sound very similar. So for instance, a word like no, that N sound is going to be pretty similar in Mandarin and in American English. But when an N is placed at the end of a word, the pronunciation between the languages changes. So if you're a Chinese speaker, you want to try to make sure that you pronounce that N sound the same way, whether it's at the start of a word or the end. Because in English, the N doesn't move. It's always made with the back of your tongue down and the front of your tongue raised. Take a look again. No. And now let's compare it to this word. Men. No and men both have the same N sound in English. You want to be careful because in Mandarin, what tends to happen is that in the word like men, the N is going to be made with the back of the tongue high and the front of the tongue down. And that's going to muffle the sound because instead of saying men, it's going to sound more like meh. And that's not quite the sound you want. You want men. No and men, again, should have the same N sounds. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Sometimes when people are describing Chinese speakers in English, they say that their English sounds a little bit robotic. What does that mean? It means that there's not enough movement. The intonation is a little bit flat. So this is something that, and not just for Mandarin speakers, but also Romance language speakers, lots of other groups as well. So for instance, Italian, Spanish, Chinese speakers, Russian speakers. When you're speaking in English, you need a lot of movement because English is always going up and going down and going up and going down. And this type of movement can be a little bit tricky. One type of movement pattern that would be great for Mandarin speakers to really focus on, as well as those other language groups too, would be situations where you have a fall followed by a rise, or a rise followed by a fall. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a word like this. Water has 2 syllables. Water. A common intonation pattern that you may see with water is where you have a fall and then a rise. So for instance, water, water, water. So for instance, you have a situation where someone asks, do you want anything to drink? And you can say, oh, do you have water? Water, water. Notice I have that fall on the wa and then up on the der. Water. Do you have water? That type of movement is going to be pretty common in English, and a lot of times other language groups don't quite add that intonation pattern to English. So that's something you want to watch out for. You can also have the opposite where you have a rise and then a fall. Water, water. I'd like some water. I'd like some water. Water. Rising on the wa, falling on the der. Now, if these intonation patterns seem a little bit confusing to you, definitely check out this video which talks about intonation patterns in more detail. The NG sound, or ng. And this is a really important sound in English because it's half of your verb tenses, pretty much. Any verb tense that is continuous, that has those ing suffixes or endings, is going to have this NG sound. And it's not pronounced the same way as an N. So for instance, for a lot of Mandarin speakers, but not just Mandarin speakers, you may even want to check this yourself if you're not a Mandarin speaker. Words like thin and thing, or sin and sing, or ban and bang, these are types of words that can sound similar. So for the NG sound, what you really need to consider is that the back of your tongue needs to be high and then the front of your tongue needs to be down. And again, it should sound like ng. So that's the sound that you want to watch out for. Again, these words should sound different. Ban bang, thin, thing, sin, sing. Again, these words should be a little bit different because of that NG sound. Not using the schwa sound enough. So that schwa sound, if you're not sure about it, you can take a look at this video. But for some more details about it real quick, you just are going to relax your mouth, raise the front of your tongue a little bit. And again, nothing's really tense. It's just like an Notice again, my mouth's mostly closed. I have a straight face, just You want to watch out for this sound because it's the most common one in English. Regardless of what language you speak, you need to know this sound. So you want to watch out, especially for confusing it with the ah sound. Take a word, for instance, like this, done, done. So it's not done, it's done, done. Another example, love, love. So it's not love, it's love, love. These types of words tend to be confused for a lot of Mandarin speakers, so be careful. Watch out for your schwa sounds. So again, those were 5 quick examples that Chinese speakers and many other language groups have trouble with in American English, and we'll see you in a future video. Also be sure to subscribe. Take care.